G'day everybody, hope you are well. Today's Tuesday, second day of the week, first 24 hours of trade out of the way. We've seen some decent moves out there, we've seen some interesting stuff. Now I'm not going to go through the US dollar pairs right now for you guys on the newsletter. I'm going to go through the Bitcoin pairings. Now many of these in the top 10 of the Bitcoin pairings, when I say top 10 of course I'm not looking at Tether, there's a couple that I haven't got in there. I haven't got Bitcoin SV, there's not enough data there from my point of view, so I sort of made a list that is margin tradable in most scenarios, that is up there in the higher market cap. So from the beginning, Ethereum against Bitcoin, what I've noticed here is this. Look, of course, we saw Ethereum gain a lot more back against Bitcoin throughout the end of last year, the month of December, and beginning of the year also saw a bit of a climb as well. Now, of course, we come back down quite heavily, and it's kind of to be a little bit expected, really. It was quite a big move. I mean, if we draw a Fibonacci on the entire move from the lowest point to the highest point, you'll see it came back to a 50% mark, which is somewhat normal, traditional. It happens. It just is what it is, right? So that's cool, not a problem there. If you look at that in the weekly, what it's presented, let me just get rid of that fib for us. What it's presented here is a lower low and a higher high. So we're now no longer into that nice downtrend that we were in. Let's just double back, because obviously yesterday we did see that move up on Ethereum against Bitcoin. And where it's sitting right now, it's not really of that much interest to me. Here's why. Yesterday I was looking at this to see if it pulled back and created a new lower high and a new lower low. Why? Because we were divergent. This low to this low, divergent. It's popped up, it's held, it's not doing a great deal. Look at the 1 hour today, or since that pop up, nothing really going on. So not a great deal for me to be focusing on or be interested in really on Ethereum against Bitcoin. Let's have a quick look at the 2-day. You'll note that it is back in that cradle zone. It is not in a nice smooth uptrend just yet on that time frame, and it's a bit of a big candle. So it's a bit of a bust Ethereum against Bitcoin for me right now. Just wait and see what happens. If it does leg up, then I'll look to see the trends. If it legs down, I'll have opportunities there. Look, in all honesty, Ripple against Bitcoin has got really nothing of any interest whatsoever. Of course, we did see that nice big jet up, pulled back, consolidated. Then we saw some nice momentum, but since that momentum kicked in, I mean, we did see a higher low and a higher high, but since then it's just, pulled back into the zone, didn't really set up because the candles were too big, and then just been petering out with the odd crazy candle like that. So realistically, from my point of view, there's no interest there, Ripple against Bitcoin, from me. One that has been consistently downtrending for a little while here is Bitcoin Cash. Of course, BAB it is with Bitfinex, where you can trade it with margin if you wish to. That's the chart I've got. There's enough data there for me to be interested here, for me to trade this. Of course, we did see it bounce quite heavily from what had been a pretty terrible period of time, a sinister period with all the SV and all the hash wars, all that rubbish that happened last year. To each their own. Now we do have a lower high and a lower low. Moving averages in the correct order, 10 below the 20, which is looking quite nice there. If we look at the 2-day, you'll also note clear lower high, clear lower low, moving averages in the correct order. We pop into the weekly, there's not enough data. But what I'm looking at here is for the potential for a breakout. Now it's a long way from it happening. Let me make that very, very clear. There are 2 tests, 1, 2. Now that's not enough to trade. And the other thing I want to see is a 3rd test with a lower high. So what I'm hoping is that that's the lower high. Clearly it is. This is the lower high here. We see price creep down, retest here, then a little bit more of a bounce, but a lower high here to another test. Get this MACD rolling over so it's convergent, and that'll be a Bitcoin breakout trade. Look, it's a long way. A long way. What we do have, a long way from setting up, what we do have clearly is this nice daily downtrend and a bit of a consolidation sort of starting to take place. I don't mind keeping an eye on that. Look, Cardano had a good pullback. It's really been a star performer so far this year. I mean, if you look at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, nice pullback into that cradle zone, really nice move. And there was some nice moves through here on the lower time frames, like the 4 hour and whatnot. As you can see, I think it might have actually been the 8 hour that had a bit better chart structure. Yeah, here it is. Nice pullbacks and nice moves. Now, where we are right now, of course, with this daily, what we've got is that we pulled back into that cradle zone. And again, I'll use the Fibonacci because I use it quite frequently here. From here up to here, and you'll note it pulled back beautifully into the 61.8% fib. As a matter of fact, let's go from the very low as well. Okay, not a double fib cluster, just a singular one, but a strong bounce was had by Cardano yesterday. So the issue that I've got with Cardano right now, I was stalking this for a trade through this consolidation through here a little while back as it consolidated, but obviously it broke down as opposed to breaking up. The only issue I've got right now is, you've got this very slight higher low. It's very convergent on this low to this low. What I need to see ideally would be for it to come down, retest this level, then set a new higher high, giving some convergence there and probably dropping to the 2 hours to look for opportunities. But again, it is one that needs to be weighted on. Litecoin, Bitcoin, well, I'll tell you right now, I took a trade back here, an absolute doozy of a trade, beautiful old resistance, nice trend, pull back into the cradle zone, small bullish candle. I missed out on my one-to-one target by a very, very, very small margin and then ended up getting stopped out. No big deal. The chart, as you can see here, if we look at the 2 day, it's pulled back into that cradle zone. It's just a bit like there's nothing to be trading just yet. What I am interested in with Litecoin against Bitcoin is just to see where it goes to from here. Will we break the high of this candle and start to push on? Because if we do, then we might just start to see a bit better trend coming on the lower time frames and look for an entry on those lower time frames to rejoin that higher period move. IOTA against Bitcoin, one that is on my list today. As you can see, we have had a pretty decent pullback, but if I jump to the 12 hours, you'll actually note there are some clearer lower highs. Now, what I'm looking at really here is this 8 hour. We are convergent. I'm not a massive fan of the price action. I have to be honest. It's not something that, I haven't decided I'm going to trade it yet, just simply because I need to wait for this candle to close, and that's going to close later on this evening. For me, the issue that I've got here, I want to be shorting only if it breaks down through there. Now, what was I had something else on this one. Let's have a look here. That's right. There was a level that went back through here. Let me just draw that in. There it is. So what you note here is that was support, broke down, retested, 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 1, 2, nearly there. Then it came up, hit it first, pulled back, and bounced. Now, I know it has broken down through this level, okay? It's broken it here, but only once. Now, from my view, if I can get 1-to-1 before that, i.e. if this is a very small candle, I might consider it. Now, again, because I haven't got a trade there yet, I just don't know whether I would or I wouldn't. So it is in my list, that's why the red flag's there, but it is something that I'm going to have to make an assessment on later on today. Not as keen on the 4 hour from my view, as much as it is a little bit flat on that MACD. EOS against Bitcoin, look, honestly, pretty average looking chart here. If I jump onto this on the daily, you'll actually note it's still very much within that range between the lows through here. So while it's in that range, it's really not tradable from my point of view. Monero, what I do like about Monero is where we're sitting right now. So this is on the daily. Let me draw, excuse me, let me draw this line in through, roughly through here. And what you'll note is it's roughly this line here. A little bit easy to break down there, but we've got test 1, test 2. What I'm waiting to see is if we can come down for a third test, get the MACD rolling over at a lower high, and then I will look to short Monero against Bitcoin. And then finally on the list is Stellar Lumens, which unfortunately is pretty average, as you can see. Very, very sideways there, not looking too interesting whatsoever. So guys, right now that's where I'm at across the board with my Bitcoin top 10. Hope you have a fantastic day. Manage your risk at the moment. There's a lot of times where you need to know what to do as far as not doing anything. It's a good time to go through your trades. Just focus on doing things that you enjoy or catching up on maybe a few things around the house. Right now, waiting for that direction to kick in. Some better opportunity will be provided from there. November was a great month. December was a great month. But December, there were no trades until the 19th. So the money was made in December right at the very end. What you want to try and avoid is giving your money back to the markets whilst you're waiting for the good opportunities. And that is what I'm doing right now, is waiting. Have a great day. Speak to you soon. Bye for now.